motorbike lanes, cyclists, and pedestrian. But a motorbike is a motorized machine, though, isn't it? So it's supposed to use the main carriage, if I understand road rules correctly, but you can please inform me more on that. Lameda Sacco, Latema Sacco Matatu is flaunting traffic rules by driving on the pavement, and then you will hear them strike when they are asked to undergo testing. NTSA Kenya, please punish these rogue drivers. So that's Ma3 route. They are informing us on that kind of information. Accident ufanyika hivi tu, overtaking even on a straight line. Is it even allowed? So that's a complaint again. I'd love to know what road that is. But Parklands Road looking clear all the way to town. Mombasa Road Pier also looking clear all the way to town. It means that there's not much activity happening today, probably anticipation of what is going to be there tomorrow. I might not know much of that, but please inform us more of what is on that road. Mulolongo footbridges, bodabodas have turned this PLW ramps into their ride paths. It's dangerous for pedestrians. So, in Mulolongo footbridges, bodabodas are turning those ramps which are used for PLWDs into their ride paths. So it's dangerous for pedestrians. I hope that the necessary Kura and authorities at NTSA are taking a look at this. Continue informing us where you are. If you're on the international front, we're streaming live on KUTV Kenya YouTube, so you can tell us the traffic updates on that side. If you're outside Nairobi as well, this has been current transport and traffic information around the capital city. But if you're outside of it, information from that will also be highly accepted on this show. Welcome once more. Let's get much more into matters of business on Biashara Tuesday. Don't go far. July 7th of 1990, the Kenyans for the first time actually witnessed organized acts of defiance, as now we are calling them maandamano, organized acts of defiance against the government in the form of mass mobilization across the country. People were mobilizing to demand the end to a single party ruling or a single party regime and to rally the public for plural politics and open government. If you are aware of Kenyan history, you'd know that Raila Odinga was at the front line then and still is at the front line now. Last week on Friday, calling for those Saba demonstrations witnessed across the Republic, Machakos, Kisii, Kisumu, Migori, and Nairobi, just to mention a few of those which came onto our desk. These kinds of pro-democracy rally, which are organized by members of the opposition, are not new, and now will be happening again tomorrow if Raila Odinga's word is anything to go by. A mega maandamano organized to address the government or to make the government address issues which are pertinent to common mwananchi. The cost of living, which is not a word I am really in favor of, because what really is the cost of living? What price is the cost of living? And at what point will we be aware that Kenyans have actually now are now at a point where they can afford the cost of living? We are aware, though, that there's runaway inflation and we have a debt to repay, and that is burdening the Kenyan taxpayer. Tomorrow, on Wednesday, it is likely that the Nairobi CBD will be shut down and business will not be happening as usual. It will all come to a standstill if police and the opposition plus Kenyans will be engaged in running battles as we witnessed last week. CS of Interior, that is CS Kindiki, has said one statement, wakuje na tutapatana. And that is a message to the opposition, especially who he says are doing this outside of the provisions of the law and are either destroying property and businesses or are leading to a loss of life. So there's a pointing of fingers from either side, and we'd love to know who is at fault here. And as I'd asked earlier, who is playing who's playing the game and who is being played. The state of the nation as well. The High Court yesterday did order another extension towards the suspension of the Finance Act of 2023. The implementation, which was supposed to happen July 1st, hasn't yet taken effect. The government is complaining through the Attorney General, the National Assembly, and KRA that this is going to shut down government. There will not be money for consolidated funds. There will not be any money for the repayment of debts, no money to run constitutional offices, and no money to divide revenue towards the counties, which are also required to be implementing their next financial year budgets as beginning this July. So what will happen in this kind of scenario? We'll be analyzing more of these details with Jesse Kimotho later on the show, but we'd love to hear your feedback, especially as we await the Supreme Court through the Chief Justice Martha Koome to convene a bench of not less than 3 men to make deliberations on the unconstitutionality or the constitutionality of the Finance Act of 2023. Public participation is one of those issues which are leading to the unconstitutionality of the Finance Act, and another is the lack of concurrency between the National Assembly and the Senate. This is happening even as this Finance Act is supposed to also take a look at the county revenue. So there is need for concurrency between the National Assembly and the Senate, and this, as we are all aware, did not happen during that third hearing of the Finance Bill of 2023 before, of course, it was assented by the president to law. So this are what we are discussing here on Biashara Tuesday, and what is also happening on the headlines this morning. We'll be having a rundown of the headlines from the Daily Nation, the Business Daily, and the Standard. And Jesse Kimotho, as I said, is on his way to join me in studio for this heated discussion. Give us your feedback on social media at KUTV Kenya, at Richard_Kenya. That's where my personal handle's at, and you can use the hashtag Biashara Tuesday. I'll be excited to be relaying your feedback back to our audience and also interacting with you all the way to 10 in the morning. Right about now, a roundup of the news updates. Don't go far. Of course, I will begin with the Finance Act ruling. The High Court declined to lift the conservatory orders barring the implementation of Finance Act 2023. The ruling was made yesterday in the afternoon by Justice Mugure Thande amid contention from the respondents seeking to be allowed to lodge a submission of the appeal. The government will have to wait longer with its new tax measures following a pending case which has been filed against that Finance Act by Busia Senator Okiya Omtata.
It is a double blow to President William Ruto as High Court once again has declined to lift orders on Finance Act 2023 that was issued last week. In a ruling made by Justice Mugure Thande, the court declined to allow for the implementation of the act following a pending case filed by Busia Senator Okiya Omtata. Justice Thande agrees with the petitioners that the case raises a substantial constitutional issues.
Also included herein is a question relating to a conflict of laws under Article 191. The questions before this court include whether the rights of the petitioners and the public have been or will be denied, violated, infringed, or threatened by the implementation of the Finance Act. Also to be determined is whether the entire process of passing the Finance Bill and the Act said by the respondents to have been done under the authority of the Constitution of any law is inconsistent with or in contravention of the Constitution, and whether the Finance Act is unconstitutional.
Respondents have contended in disagreement, underlining that the court orders will bring government operations to a halt. They sought to be allowed to file an appeal against the suspension. The implementation of the Act was due to come into effect on July 1st.
4 of the Constitution. So in the end, and in view of the foregoing, I find that it has not been demonstrated to my satisfaction grounds to warrant the setting aside of the orders of 30th of June 2023. I make the following orders. The applications dated 30th of June 2023 and 1st of July 2023 are hereby dismissed. The application dated 29th of June 2023 is hereby allowed. Pursuant to Article 165(4), this matter is certified as raising a substantial question of law, and the file is hereby transmitted to the Honorable the Chief Justice for assignment of a bench of not less than 3 judges to hear and determine the petition. No order as to costs.
In the meantime, Okiya Omtata had also filed a contempt application against the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority (EPRA) for enforcing the new fuel prices despite the suspension of Finance Act, insisting that the authority showed a contempt to the court. Okiya Omtata challenged the implementation of Finance Act on grounds that the Senate was not involved in the passing of the controversial law. High Court on Friday, June 30th, issued orders suspending further implementation of the new Finance Act, which brought into effect the new all-time high fuel prices. A petition will be forwarded to Chief Justice Martha Koome to constitute a bench for hearing of the case. Joseph Oyomo, KUTV.
This man, Okiya Omtata, something to think about. Opposition leader Raila Odinga yesterday surprised many as he boarded a matatu from his current home to Nairobi's Central Business District. Odinga alighted at the Ambassador Matatu terminus and proceeded to the Tom Mboya statue, where he addressed hundreds of his supporters while at the same time announcing the planned Wednesday nationwide demonstrations, urging them to turn out in large numbers.
In an unexpected move today, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga left the country in talks following his move to use the public means of transport on his way to work. Odinga engaged with the crowd in Nairobi Central Business District, catching the attention of onlookers. Chants of excitement from the citizen filled the air as he made his way across the road towards Kimathi Street, where he paid homage to the Dedan Kimathi statue. Odinga then walked approximately 500 meters to Pronto, a popular eatery adjacent to the County Assembly of Nairobi, where he had breakfast with some members of the County Assembly, after which he proceeded to address his supporters.
Jana, leo, tuliamua kuhisi vile wananchi wa kawaida wanahisi kila siku.
On his way to CBD, Odinga paid the bus fare for all the passengers on board with him, expressing his concern over the unbearable cost of living in the country.
Nimetoka nyumbani, nimetembea na mguu mpaka stendi ya matatu.
The opposition leader expressed his disappointment that the government had disregarded the concerns of Kenyans, leading to their current hardships. He announced the Wednesday nationwide demonstration, urging Kenyans to turn out in large numbers.
Mkaonyesha ujasiri, ukakamavu ya kusema nyinyi mko tayari, sio? Tukaja nao hapa mpaka hapa katika town. Pale ndio wakaanza kunipiga mimi risasi. Hapo yule jamaa.
Odinga was accompanied by Mr. Wycliffe Oparanya, chairman of the Azimio Executive Committee, as well as legislators Dr. Joshua Oron, Peter Orero, among other leaders. Raila Odinga's matatu ride through the streets of Nairobi CBD served as a symbolic act highlighting the challenges faced by ordinary Kenyans as he called for peaceful demonstration on Wednesday. Patrick Odur, KUTV.
Thank you very much, Patrick Odur, for that report. Makes you question yourself, as I'd asked earlier, how come that former Prime Minister, that is Opposition Chief Raila Odinga, managed to find himself in the CBD? Given that there are calls to arrest the Opposition Chief, did he outmaneuver the government and make his way to the CBD, or was he just testing waters to see who really is going to arrest him? I'd have to hear your thoughts on that, but this is a political game and you need to keep asking yourself who's playing who and if you're the one who is being played. Let's move on to the president now, who is in Ethiopia and yesterday chaired the inaugural Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD Quartet, on the Sudan conflict, which was held at Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. The members of the quartet, who include heads of state and government, have called upon the parties to the Sudan conflict to declare an unconditional ceasefire. The Sudan conflict has displaced hundreds of thousands of Sudan citizens, while lives have been lost, and this has hit 2,000.
The parties to the Sudan conflict have been asked to declare an unconditional ceasefire. This recommendation has been made by the members of the Intergovernmental Authority on Development Quartet on Sudan conflict in the inaugural meeting held in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. President William Ruto, who chaired the meeting, says that Sudan Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces must also agree to establish a humanitarian zone, a situation he says will stop the loss of lives, ease access to public services, and facilitate a settlement of the conflict.
Our meeting needs to pave way for an unconditional ceasefire that facilitates unhindered humanitarian access and ensures protection of civilians, stops loss of life, destruction of property and critical infrastructure, and enables the people of Sudan to access public services.
President Ruto said that the situation in Sudan is dire, with data indicating that over 2.9 million people have been displaced. On the other hand, death toll stands at more than 2,000 as the crisis exerts more pressure on neighboring countries.
The situation, ladies and gentlemen, in Sudan is grave. As the conflict continues unabated, we are witness to its devastating impact on the people, on Sudan, and on the region. To date, the number of displaced individuals have surpassed the 2.9 million. More than 2.2 million people are internally displaced, while over 640,000 have sought refuge in neighboring countries.
It is almost 12 weeks since intense fighting erupted in the Republic of the Sudan between the Sudanese armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces. We're gathered here today to take stock of developments in this unfolding crisis, which continues to deeply concerning as time passes.
Conflict in Sudan has led to massive emigration of citizens to other countries. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, IGAD Executive Secretary Waki Gebeyehu, United Nations Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator Martin Griffiths, Djibouti Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, and representatives from Sudan and rebel factions attended. Joseph Kess, KUTV.
From that conflict, we come back home where Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki has revealed that the fourth phase of exhumation exercise in Shakahola Village, Kilifi County, kicked off yesterday. According to the CS, there are 40 more mass graves that will contain multiple bodies, and Kindiki has pointed out that so far 339 lives have been lost in that Shakahola tragedy. Further, Kindiki has noted that every religious leader must do their work in accordance with the Constitution and law, citing that there is no difference between rogue preachers misleading their congregations and terrorists. The CS has vowed that the government will do everything in its power to ensure that another Shakahola tragedy does not occur in this country.
Katika shughuli ambayo tumeanza, nimesema ya kwamba tayari tumefukua miili 339. Na leo hii katika ile awamu imeanza leo, tuko na makaburi 40 ambayo hajafunguliwa, na kila kaburi mengine tunashuku iko na zaidi ya maiti moja katika ile kaburi.
Still with the Interior CS, he has issued a stern warning to those intending to participate in the planned Wednesday protest organized by the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition. During the operationalization of Igoji sub-county in Meru County and commissioning of the sub-county headquarters, Kindiki emphasized that anyone involved in such activities will face the full force of the law.
Professor Kithure Kindiki has stated that the security agencies have been instructed to uphold the law firmly when dealing with individuals who pose a threat to public order and engage in acts of violence and looting with the intention of destabilizing the country.
Wananchi waendelee kuishi bila hofu kufanya biashara, kufanya ukulima, kwenda popote wanapotaka kwenda, kwa sababu hii ni nchi yao na ni nchi huru.
The Interior CS mentioned that 6 people lost their lives, numerous individuals sustained injuries, and significant damage to property occurred during the Sabasaba protest organized by the opposition team last week on Friday.
Tumepoteza watu 6 ambao wameuawa katika sehemu nyingi katika Kenya, eti walikuwa wakiandamana. Tuko na maofisa wa polisi pia ambao waliumizwa na mawe na vifaa butu ambao walipigwa nao na wananchi ambao walikuwa wanasema wanaandamana.
According to the cabinet secretary, the government acknowledges and respects the right to peaceful protests and demonstrations, but it emphasizes that participants must remain peaceful and refrain from carrying weapons.
Iko right. Kama upendi kitu, mambo ya siasa, enda pale uandamane. Kama ni mambo ya bei ya bidhaa upendi, enda sema pale mambo ya bidhaa nini kwa mkutano, useme vile unataka na useme siku ile utachaguliwa vile utafanya, alafu uende nyumbani. Hiyo ndio maandamano ambayo imekubaliwa.
Kindiki was in Igoji sub-county, Meru County, where he oversaw the operationalization of the sub-county, the appointment of Zuhura Riga as the first deputy county commissioner, and the official opening of the sub-county headquarters. Additionally, the CS conducted a security meeting to address the ongoing conflicts between communities residing on the border of Meru and Tharaka Nithi counties. Kindiki's warning comes few hours after the Azimio leader Raila Odinga announced the Wednesday nationwide anti-government demonstration. Patrick Oduor, KUTV.
Thank you very much, Patrick Oduor, for that report. A crisis is looming in the education sector as the Kenya National Union of Teachers has issued a 14-day ultimatum to the Teachers Service Commission, TSC, to review the collective bargaining agreement, CBA, signed in 2021 and to increase teachers' salaries as well as creating a conducive work environment, failure to which the union will down their tools. The Teachers Union wants TSC to review that CBA following the rise in the cost of living.
In the wake of the high cost of living, the Kenya National Union of Teachers are now up in arms with another strike notice, this time with the same script, to demand for better pay and for the teachers' work environment to get a polish, all within a time span of only 14 days, failure to which the union will take to the streets. With these demands yet to be implemented, the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers, Nat Collins Oyu, has applauded TSC for rolling out the 2023-2027 strategic plan at a cost of 70 billion to be used in other ways apart from paying teachers' salaries. This is, however, not enough according to the union boss. The teachers' employer in June 2023, TSC made a proposal for 2 billion shillings for teachers' promotion, which was reduced to 1 million shillings by the National Treasury. As such, the union is prepared to push TSC in a letter directed to the employer, and I quote, "We have written a letter to the TSC and I have given them 14 days to bring us to the table so that we can start reviewing the monetary collective bargaining agreement that we signed in 2021. End of quote. Oyu also raised issues with the Presidential Working Party on education reforms in proposal to reduce TSC powers to the benefit of the Education Ministry. Kenya National Union of Teachers also has opposed bid to demote non-graduate school heads. The union says non-graduate primary school head teachers need more time to train to obtain higher qualifications. The Kenya National Union of Teachers has rejected the move by the Presidential Working Party on education reforms to demote non-graduate primary school head teachers, which had proposed to teach for a shorter period of up to December 2023. Dorothy Musyoka, KUTV.
Closer home Kenyatta University is the host of the 11th edition of the International Association for Landscape Ecology, with the theme of this year being Transboundary Resource Management, Climate Change, and Environmental Resilience. The event has brought together landscape ecologists from public, private, and non-profit sectors to address a broad spectrum of environmental challenges and their potential solutions. Edward Nyamu has more on this report.
This year's 11th edition of the International Association for Landscape Ecology has been hosted in Kenya with Kenyatta University championing the event. The 2023 World Congress will be a hybrid event and is for the first time being hosted in the Global South.
It's through conferences such as this that we can share on the broad spectrum of local and global ecology issues. And I now wish to officially declare this conference open.
Vice Chancellor Kenyatta University Professor Paul K. Wainaina has said that the event will address environmental development with the need to manage climate change. Professor Wainaina has called on young people to lead from the front in coming up with solutions on issues affecting landscape ecology.
At Kenyatta University, we feel particularly honored to be hosts of the event that is being held in Africa for the first time since its inception in 1980. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenyatta University, through her programs and curriculum, is focused on capacity building, on researchers to conduct credible research which can have an impact that leads to sustainability of the ecosystems.
The event, which has brought together 400 participants from different countries, is looking forward to promoting global collaborations and at the same time providing infrastructure to support global environmental conservation.
Over the next few days, you have the privilege of engaging in thought-provoking discussions and attending enlightening presentations. I encourage all of you to embrace this conference as a transformative experience. Let us seize this opportunity to challenge our assumptions, broaden our horizons, and envision a world where landscaping ecology is not just a field of study, but a guiding principle that shapes our interactions with the environment.
According to IALE management, there is need for countries to collaborate with scientists and researchers when coming up with mega infrastructures and solutions on climate change.
Our primary mission is to promote global collaboration. So IALE promotes landscape ecology as a scientific basis for analysis, planning, and management of landscapes around the world. We advance international cooperation through scientific, scholarly, educational, and communication activities.
We're truly honored by the opportunity to bring together this distinguished audience representing a wide range of expertise, knowledge, and experience.
The participants have also expressed their joy for being part of the event, and according to a number of them, the events will also act as a learning experience. The coming together of scientists and researchers across the globe is a step forward in coming up with solutions affecting the global landscape ecology, with the researchers calling on governments to involve them in decision-making when coming up with infrastructure development and solutions on climate change. Edward Nyamo, KUTV.
The spouse of the Deputy President, Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, has challenged parents with children addicted to alcohol and drug abuse to accept and support them as a way of easing their recovery journey. Pastor Dorcas was speaking during a football tournament in Kiambu between Jubilee Christian Church team and the Heroes of Christ, where she noted that there is need for children drug addicts to be loved and understood by their families for them to heal, pointing out that stigmatizing and condemning them will push them away from their recovery. Kiambu Sub-County Deputy County Commissioner Titus Macharia, on his part, also highlighted the need for the people to stay sober.
Addiction and alcohol taking is actually a disease. Those people are sick, and you can't condemn people who are sick. What you need is to understand them and help them to be able to overcome. But when we condemn them and we do not even take care of them, some of them have gone to the level they are mentally ill, And so we need to start to know how do we need to deal with these mental illnesses.
Without our people being sober, no matter what government does, we will not be able to benefit from all the things that the government is doing. So here in Kiambu, we have worked very well, and we have reduced the consumption of illicit brews and counterfeit brews and drugs to the barest minimum, and we are working very well with the county government and all other agencies to ensure that we are sober in Kiambu County, so that we can help the president transform this county and transform the entire republic.
Now, following the theft case of over 50 bags of coffee parchment worth 3 million shillings at Gashugu factory in Embu West Sub-County on Tuesday night last week, security agencies in Embu County have put in place a raft of measures to curb such further incidents. The theft cases have sparked widespread fears among farmers with the approaching harvesting season that coffee theft syndicates may be making a comeback.
Coffee farmers in Embu County have expressed their fear as the harvest season is approaching following the increase in cases of theft of the grain. County Commissioner Jack Obuo said all the 57 coffee factories spread across the county will be guarded by armed officers, especially at night, commensurate with the amount of stocks in their stores.
We have decided that all the 57 coffee factories spread across Embu County, especially in Embu East Sub-County, Embu North Sub-County, and Embu West, will be guarded by armed security.
Speaking after chairing a security meeting in his office, the CC said they will also be at hand to escort coffee while on transit to the market to protect farmers' earnings.
When the coffee is going to the dealers, they will also be under armed protection. So under armed escorts, at night especially, and also on transit. Another recommendation is that each and every society or factory will enhance their security measures in the ground.
He advised factories not to retain too much stock in their stores at any one time so that it does not attract the motivation to steal by illegal merchants. The administrator further announced that all security guards will be vetted afresh to rid the societies of individuals who cannot be trusted.
Like now the thugs who went to OKENYE, they had a very easy time. They just tied this watchman and they did what they did and they walked away. And again, we do not want a lot of stock in the stores. Like now what happened in KENYE, actually it was lucky. Most of the coffee had been sold the previous day.
He further reported that 2 individuals have been arrested and are being interrogated by the DCI, noting that good progress had been made with regard to what transpired on the material date. Caroline Kimwele for KUTV.
A little bit on sports now. This year's National Motocross Championship Round 5 has been marked with fun and traction. The event, held at Vipingo Ridge Racetrack in Kilifi County, attracted hundreds of motorsport fanatics who braced the cloudy day to watch the thrilling competition. Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro noted that the event has significant impact on economy as it significantly boosts tourism in that county.
National Motocross Championships Round 5 has returned to Kilifi County following the success of last year's chapter to Coast Province after 16 years of miss-out. The sporting activity was flagged off by Kilifi Governor Gideon Mungaro, who then joined hundreds of revelers to watch the thrilling fanfare from the motorcyclists.
Today it's a national round of the National Motocross Championship. We built this course 2 years ago and we're delighted to be able to promote motorsports here in Kilifi County. This will be the one of many events hopefully, and we want to be a permanent fixture on the championship. And we want to develop the sport at the coast as well. I think the guys were telling me it's 32 years since there's been a round of the National Motocross Championship at the coast.
Governor Mungaro described the event as one of its kind in Kilifi, and which he vowed to use to market sports tourism in the county.
A big event for the whole Africa, motorbikers from different countries. So, of course, we had the golf the other day. We have this. We are going to have many other sports activities. There is Nation coming to Malindi the next month. That's where we want to go, basically. You can see how many people are here, and people who have come from Nairobi and many other places, so that we don't only tap the international tourism, but also the local tourism.
Spectators enjoyed cheering to the riders as they raced through muddy racetrack, occasioned by the current heavy rains being experienced in the region. Some of the participants expressed feeling of satisfaction having attended the competition, noting that they got opportunity to exercise their efforts in the race. They noted that in spite of muddy terrain owing to the ongoing rains, the event was worth time to enjoy and are looking forward to more such competitions in the future.
The race was good. I had a bad start, but I was able to pass fast and get to the front. Then from there, I just relaxed and didn't fall, and I stayed up, and that's how I did it. The track was rough. It had rained in the morning, so it was very muddy. And it was a struggle to stay up, but luckily I was able to do that, and that's how I won.
The motocross track in Kilifi County was built in 2021 as an exciting addition to the county's off-road racing circuits. Kilifi having qualified to host a race sanctioned by the Motorcycle Sports Federation of Kenya, MSFK, for 2 years in a row. Joseph Oyomo, KUTV.
All right, that's what we have for you this morning as regards to news updates. Thank you very much to all our reporters in the KUTV newsroom who've been able to go out to the ground and bring us those stories as coverage for part of KUTV news broadcast. You can get much more of it later. Mizizi ya Habari 6:30 p.m. and then 9 p.m. you get primetime news, and stay updated on the happenings all across the country and on the international front. We're going to shift back to business in just a bit, going to take a breather, and then coming back with what is happening in the newspapers. Then Jesse Kimotho will be joining me on set here as well to discuss the state of the nation, what I see here on the dailies, and what we can expect in the coming few days. A little bit of feedback from you guys as well. A few ago, Jesse was tuned in on Biashara Tuesday on his way to the show, excited to be discussing this, and he is saying traffic is tight today, especially on Ngong Road, hata Thika Road, hataki kusema. Luckily, he's on Anduthi. If you can work from home, please, today, sit back and watch Biashara Tuesday. Asante sana. Brown Guy as well, also tuning into the show. Joy Alana, eagerly waiting for this conversation or this discussion that we're going to have here with Jesse Kimotho. On Twitter, I see Brian Mutua M is saying this, that this morning he can see a lot of people queuing up on Super Metro. Watu wa Juja wamepanga line ya Super Metro this early morning, na jioni watafanya the same tao. Yet kuna other vehicles plying the same route. A very rare type of loyalty yenye only followers wa baba na Pastor Owor ndio wanaweza kumatch. Thank you very much, Mutua Brand, for that comic remark, but thank you also for watching the show this morning. Continue engaging with us on all social platforms. Let me take a cup of water, and then I will be back with much more on this show.
Kenyatta University will hold its 53rd graduation ceremony on Friday, 21st July 2023 at the main campus along Thika Superhighway. KUTV will provide live coverage of the graduation ceremony from 8 a.m. The graduation ceremony will also be streamed live on KUTV, KU website, Lola app, and all KU social media platforms. For more information, please contact the Office of the Registrar Academic on 020-870-3092 or 0786-335-111 or visit the KU website on www.ku.ac.ke. Kenyatta University, transforming higher education, enhancing lives.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
The folks are going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
People pass vuguvugu. People pass ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni Duniani Leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
We are all seeing the impacts of climate change. In Kenya, for example, the frequency of the floods is becoming more and worse. The amount of people and livestock we are losing.
The level we need to go is the level where the normal mwananchi and also the government stakeholders can uptake these solutions.
Those small acts multiplied by millions of us will help make a difference in the world at the end of the day.
It's just a slight behavior change that we need, and you'll find that it serves us a bit more than you put in. And that's the goal. We want to live a better world than we found. Because at the rate we are going, it's dire.
We will secure the planet for future generations.
Hello everyone, this is the new chapter of Let's Be Fit. I'll be host DiCaplo. I'm here to give you various workouts. I'll be having different trainers. We'll have Zumba classes, we'll have aerobics classes, we'll have boxercise, we'll have kata box.
Jathiri watu kwenye bara hili bila woga. Watu huwa na uzalishaji zaidi. Wanajawa na ujasiri, wanakuwa wabunifu na wanakuwa wenye maarifa.
Niliamua kuacha kazi. Hata kama sitafanikiwa, nitakuwa nimejaribu, nitakuwa najua haiwezekani.
Hakuna kitu cha ajabu hapa. Kila anayepata ufanisi hufanya kazi usiku na mchana.
Kitu kitakusukuma na kuwezesha kupata maarifa ambayo hukuwa nayo.
Tunajaribu kutengeneza kitu kitakachopita mipaka ya nchi hii.
Ikiwa unataka kubadilisha ulimwengu, anza na nyumbani.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audio-visual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Maybe comes from those remote areas, even if they're above that 8 years or 12 years or even around 14 years, you'll find that their appreciating of issues is really low compared to a child in Nairobi.
Kenyatta University will hold its 53rd graduation ceremony on Friday, 21st July 2023 at the main campus along Thika Superhighway. KUTV will provide live coverage of the graduation ceremony from 8 a.m. The graduation ceremony will also be streamed live on KUTV, KU website, Lola app, and all KU social media platforms. For more information, please contact the Office of the Registrar Academic on 020-870-3092 or 0786-335-111 or visit the KU website on www.ku.ac.ke. Kenyatta University, transforming higher education, enhancing lives.
A loving husband and father. Nothing is too good for my daughter. An ambitious businessman with a dark secret. A girl with a whole life in front of her, plunging into a marriage that she did not choose with the wrong man.
I'm not ready to marry Zewa.
But who is the right one? I love Nambi. A rock star, living the dream. But the babes keep chasing me, Agissa. It ain't easy being famous. Especially with so many glamorous women around. A woman hell-bent on revenge.
He will pay.
Seductive, dangerous. She is a predator. Everybody needs it. Everybody wants it. They will do anything to get it. Love and wealth.
We're glad you're keeping it here on Biashara Tuesday. We're giving you information on the current happenings in the world of economy, whether it's in Kenya or on the international front. We're looking at a couple of stories as well, but highlighting what is happening on the ground. This is Biashara Tuesday. So Biashara ambayo unafanya pale mtaani is important for us, and we have economy mtaani, which is a section or a segment here on Biashara Tuesday that we've been running all the way before the Finance Act, before the high cost of living. We've been taking a look at what opportunities the youth are taking a look at and investing in a bid to raise revenue. So these are some of the brands, including Pizza Africana, which is coming to you in a short while. But if you have any other business venture that you're doing on the ground, watch this one. Tell us if it relates to you, and then we'll be with you to see what kind of things we can learn from you. A few lessons to pick here and there, especially now with the current economic times. If you're running a business, how are you able to do it with the conditions that are there and with the cost of produce or the cost of operation and production? But first, let's take a look at this feature of Economy Mtaani.
Well, my name is Innocent Urunga. I'm the co-founder of Pizza Africana. And as it states, Africana by itself, we are trying to make pizza for Africans, made by Africans to build Africa. Yeah, so Pizza Africana came along by virtue of 3 foodies that also love pizza so much. But beyond just loving pizza, they had a heart for Africa. And with that, we sat down and asked ourselves, how can we make our economy much better as we grow ourselves as entrepreneurs? And we realized there's one major challenge in Kenya particularly, and Africa at large, that we didn't have a lot of franchise companies that started out of Africa that were taken abroad. You could name a few, rather count by your fingertips, especially in the food sector. And with that, we asked ourselves which industry made more sense to build a franchise fast and be able to build it in a way that it can compete at a global level, and something that is authentically African. And that's how we settled on Pizza Africana as something that we wanted to build going forward. So in short, we are trying to build a premier franchise that is African, made by African, but for Africa, because their whole goal is to build the African economy by empowering farmers, empowering the food sector in the country by education, and as well as the manufacturing industry in future, and agriculture as a whole. So it's a whole ecosystem that we're looking to build. We just chose pizza because we love pizza so much, and of course the margins make sense too. So I mean, we were all doing different businesses, but the thing that brought us together was the fact that whatever we were doing, we're trying to build something that would impact Africa, and something that would be kind of worldly known and put Africa on the map in all our different endeavors. So when we came together, that's actually what we were trying to pull our efforts together and build. And then we started strategizing. In fact, there were different ideas in the beginning. Which year was this? I mean, we were doing different things previously, but we came together this year. Sometimes back in 2022, sometimes in January, Feb, and we just started playing around with ideas. Then in March is when the concept actually came to life, and we started building it from there. But operations, we started operations in like towards second week of August. So we've been building it in terms of structuring, business planning, marketing strategies, and all those kind of aspects before we started. Yeah. So I mean, we realized one thing when you're talking about pizza is, first of all, this capital for setting up is really intensive. So I mean, but as entrepreneurs, our work is to solve problems. So we asked ourselves, if this is what we want to do, where can we start? And because one of the key aspects was to build Africa, that meant that we had to make a pizza that's affordable, and we had to make pizza that utilizes local ingredients. And with that, we decided to find a location that will not be costly for us to operate, but still be able to generate the best product possible with what we have. So this particular location puts us at a place where it's a low middle level income area, which is part of the key aspect we want to introduce pizza to mostly, but also puts us in a position where we're in the middle of the upper middle class, kind of, in a way, because we have Nyari, Runda, we're looking at Ruak on this other side, and Gadiga. So it puts us at a place where we can easily distribute to the market that is used to pizza, and as well introduce pizza to guys who have essentially not been introduced to well before, and make it affordable for everybody to afford, and gives us access to also like the biggest producers of cheese in the country, best cheese. We are probably like a few kilometers away from them. So access to them, to the ingredients, and access to the market, this place works best for us, though we'll be expanding soon as per our plans. Of course, financing has always been a biggest problem for for startups. So that's we can't live without stating that. So first of all, we did not have enough finances to set it up, to be honest. We had a couple of places where we wanted to pool funds, but then we realized that we have to source equipment from abroad, we have to source a couple of things here and there. So we decided, what do we have in our hands and where do we start? You know, so key challenge I can say was finances, which as well sent me straight to the Sandbox also to kind of see how we can be able to access that, which they've been helping us to kind of position and ourselves in terms of branding, in terms of just the outlook of the business at large, so that when we present it to the global market, it makes sense, you know. So with that, of course, they say any idea that is not started doesn't exist, you know, it's not a business. So we just had to start with what we had. And another challenge that has come in, of course, is sourcing ingredients at a more affordable rate, because the quantities that we started with were not as big as our competitors, so we could not get competitive rates for supplies initially. But that has been changing as time goes. You know, as the business grows, you're able to negotiate this kind of items and aspects. So I mean, the future is looking bright, to be honest. So far, so good. Yeah. So what you're saying, it's true. So I mean, as I said, our uniqueness comes in the fact that we're trying to build an African pizza that can compete on a global pedestal. And with that, then that means we have to create something that was originally ours, but beyond that, something that sources items from the African continent. And that's what we've actually been building. If you look at the big players on a global stable, you're looking at Pizza Hut, you're looking at Domino's, you're looking at Papa John's Pizza. On a local scale, you're also looking at Pizza Inn, you're looking at Pizza Hut and Domino's, who are also in the market. And if you look at how their pizzas are, they're kind of the same, you know, the Neapolitan pizza. So we kind of have our Africana style. So we have all these kind of pizzas that are conventional. We call them classic pizzas. You'd get them everywhere in any other store. But if you come to Pizza Africana, you're sure that you're going to get a cassava-based crust. You're going to get, basically it's the home of the cassava-based crust, and it's also the home of the African-based ingredients. Plus, beyond that, all our items are fresh straight from the farmers to our store. And we're actually making them hand built. Guys don't do that with pizza anymore. So you find guys pressing their dough with dough presses. You'll find other guys, you hit the dough a little bit, pre-bake it before you put it so that you can come out faster. But you've managed to be efficient with the original way pizza was made. So when you come here, you're getting that feel of a home-based baked pizza, but a home-baked pizza, but you're still having it in a taste that is globally competitive. Yeah, so of course, as they say in business, you're as good as your weakest link, which means creating a team is important. So what we did initially is that we understood that if we were trying to build a franchise, branding is critical. So when we were coming up together, we had different capacities. Of course, I had some capacity of building business previously, no experience in making pizza personally, but then we had our co-founder called Ken, who had a background in interior designing and graphic design as well as branding, who also came in handy in crafting the whole design for the pizza Africana brand. And then we had Joseph, who was a chef for over 23 years, experience with some of the biggest franchises in the world. So with that, we believe we had a strong team. And we needed, because we had not made pizza together previously, we needed to make sure that whatever product we're making is legit and is good. So we sourced information and advice from some of the guys who have been in the pizza industry for a while. I won't mention names because some of them work for competitors, but really we had a director from one of the major global pizza brands. Yeah, so we've had advice from two directors of major pizza brands, one based in Ghana and one based in Kenya, of course. So with that, we were able to craft and create something that was authentically us and something that was unique. So in terms of employees, at the minute we only have one who's like a kitchen assistant. But as we said, we're looking at building the African continent. So we're looking at training people who have interest in the field to actually catch on in the field and be able, as we expand, we push them out to help us expand the market, as opposed to getting guys who've already got an experience, yeah. So what we look at mostly is attitude, really. Because all of us, when we came in together, we had never made a pizza in our life, but we made it. Ever since March, we've been testing out items, and we've made one that can be edible anywhere. You can take it in any place in the world and it will be eaten. So for us, number one item is attitude. Are you willing to actually learn? Are you willing to grow with us? Number two, we're looking at Pan-Africanism. Are you someone who's willing to grow the community around you? Because we'll be investing in education after that. We'll be investing in the agriculture after that. So are you someone who's actually willing to grow with the brand as it grows? And also we're looking at people who can catch on things a little bit faster, which attitude aids on that, So are you quick to learn, quick to adapt with changing times? Of course, how business environments are, So once you have those, I think everything else we believe is trainable. So we're looking for entrepreneurs, to be specific, as opposed to just guys who want to be employees and earn money and go. So guys who are willing to build the brand as it grows. Yeah, I think the advantage we have is the margins for pizza. The margins for pizza, and this is not to say that there's no barriers of entry, but like the margins of pizza make sense in a way that the business can kind of sustain itself as it grows, and you can only inject to grow your sales, because our cost of sales can be doubled by our margins, So, but beyond that, we also have other business endeavors that we were doing previously that were generating something that initially were able to pull in and put in to fund the business to pick up. But as it goes, it's been progressive. And as we say, a good product is a good product. The market will adapt and move on. Like the first week, we sold probably 4 pizzas. Then you move on to the next week, you do 10, you do 20, you do 15, So far, so good. And I can say our numbers are making sense in terms of the growth for the business. And we want to be organic at first, proof the concept. And then once we stabilize a little bit, then we can push into, to proper funding, startup funding with what we're trying to build. Yeah, so aspects like Sandbox is what we're looking at. We're also looking at some international options for financing. Yeah. So when it comes to food, the first item is menu. So your menu has to be competitive. So that was our first marketing strategy. Make sure our menu is competitive. Our menu reflects what we actually speak about and what we want to put forward. And then we looked at aspects of, you know, like third-party aggregators when it comes to delivery of our food, because being a new brand, you couldn't easily just set up and have guys walk through your doors and order. So because there was trust already built by third-party aggregators, we opted to use them mostly at the beginning. But beyond that, also social media has opened us up to the use of reels, the use of, you know, just general posting. We haven't done any paid campaigns yet, but the traction has been good. It's been organic. And also just local movement, you know, like the area that we're in, the traditional way of marketing, where you get posters out, flyers, brochures and stuff like that. So that's where we started from. On the B2B end, we've been having conversations with some organizations in terms of Sandbox included and other organizations in terms of managing or rather providing pizzas for their parties. So it's been good, just banking on the networks we've built over the years to kind of grow the business. Yeah. Me as a person, I think for me, of course, and anybody else, it will be Elon Musk, and anybody else. The reason being, the reason for me, I mean, everybody has their reasons. The reason why I'd say Elon on a global level, that is, I'd say Elon because of particularly what he did with Tesla, because I mean, most people think that Tesla was actually a company built to make cars, you know, but if you look at it, it was actually a vision to accelerate the world into a sustainable economy, you know. So with that, it's, for me, I feel quite inspired with that, and that's the same thing we're trying to build, is that we're not trying to build a pizza brand. What we're trying to build is we're trying to build something that will accelerate the economic stability of the African continent. Because pizza is food, but if you look at one pizza, you're having meats on it, you're having vegetables on it, you're having flour on it, and with that, you're looking at a whole ecosystem of farmers, you're looking at a whole ecosystem of young people also trying to get something to earn a living. And the more the franchise grows, the more we can go into agriculture, go into education, and actually bring up our continent to be more sustainable. So it's not about the pizza for us, it's more about how fast can we grow the economic sustainability of the African continent. So locally for me, I'd say, I think one of the person who's mentored me, probably nobody knows him or something, his name is James. So, I mean, for me, I've been able to be close to him as he does his business. He's in advertising, but you know, just the general operations of the business. You know, how do you handle financing? How do you handle accounting? How do you handle branding? How do you handle HR? How do you handle your operations at large? So having that, I was close to him, you know, for a couple of 1 or 2 years. I got to understand how really businesses are done, how really businesses are built to a global level. Yeah, so for me, I'd take that. Beyond him as a mentor, I'd say Chris Kirubi, particularly because of how he was pushing boundaries with his businesses here. I think for me, success is being able to build an empowered community, which I believe is something Africa has lacked for a very long time. Yes, we are empowered in terms of academics. We can go to school, learn degrees and all that. But we've yet, I mean, you can look at our leadership. We're yet to get to a place where we can actually come up with our own items. And in fact, the belief that we can come up with our own items and compete on an economic level globally has not been there. So for me, success is being able to be part of the journey to making Africa economically sustainable, and that youths of Africa can actually believe they can build something and take it to a global level. A lot of people are doing it, but their stories are not told. So we want to be one of those guys who will do it and our stories are told, so that we can inspire the future to do that. What have I enjoyed most is the building process. The building process. I think the creativity involved in the process for me is enticing, is exciting as well, and makes me want to do it again tomorrow, because the fact that you can come up today and build something that was never existing previously, or if it was existing not in a way that you've done it, for me it's just interesting. That's the exciting part. Apart from that, everything else is business as usual. Solving problems. I think for entrepreneurship, first of all, is I usually say this, entrepreneurs, people think they are born. I believe entrepreneurs are made. So you can make yourself an entrepreneur. As much as you'd go to school to be an engineer, you understand? That's a skill that you're getting to build a business. I believe that entrepreneurship at large, at a level that is supposed to be done, there's a lot of skills that have to be built. You have to be operationally able, you have to be financially able, you have to be HR, you have to have an understanding. So I think for entrepreneurship, passion by itself doesn't really help much. I think I've been doing business for the past probably 12 years or something. And it's been a learning process ever since. And even to be where initially it started with passion, and you think passion can build, but then you realize that you can't manage HR, you can't manage, you no idea about accounting, no idea about operations, you can't set systems. So I mean, ideally the first step is anyone who's passionate about entrepreneurship is gain the skills that entrepreneurs actually need. And which skills are those? You need to understand business and how it's managed, all angles of business at least, because when you're starting out, you'll be the accountant, you'll be the, you'll be the HR director, you would be the, operations director, you'll be the branding expert. So for you to be able to do this, you need to put yourself in a community of people who can enable you to do that, or find someone to mentor you through that journey, because you won't learn that in school. I mean, taxation and all these items, you can't learn that in school. Even if you are an accountant, there's still aspects of business in accounting management that you need to understand. So mentorship can help with that. And beyond mentorship, put yourself in a community like, of course, the Sandbox, the other items like the iHub, so these platforms that are built to actually build entrepreneurs, and hang around people who are managing startups to be able to keep your head in space, because there are times when you'll be sleeping at night lonely and your employees are happy. But you'd have to be. So number one, get access to a mentor or get access to a community that can be able to help you acquire the skills either by association or by paying to learn. It's not a motto, it's what we stand for. So we're trying to build an authentic African taste, which differentiates us from any pizza they should eat anywhere. And beyond that, we are trying to bring it to your doorstep, which is, we are in 2022, that's how it's happening. So we are providing affordability, we're providing convenience, and we're providing authentic Africanness. I think we had different stages. The first stage was basically to build a product that is authentically African. We've done that. The second phase for us has been to be able to make sure the market understands what authentic African taste really is. So that's what we're working on right now. Pushing our product, marketing, putting ourselves out there really. Then the next phase after that happens, and we're looking at expansion into different areas, and now putting out franchising licenses for guys who want to take this brand anywhere across the globe. So that's kind of what we're working on. Yeah, so you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok at Pizza Africana, PIZZA Africana with a K. And then you can also find us on pizzaafricana.com. You can as well, catch us on Bolt, on Uber Foods, on Glovo, for third-party orders to your doorstep. But you can as well call us on 0794 028 014 if you want to place a direct order. The truth is, if you place a direct order, you're guaranteed our normal store prices. Of course, third-party aggregators have their markup and all those items, but with our direct orders, and we're also looking at free deliveries at all our places that we are located. Within our at least 5 kilometer radius from where we're located is free delivery.
Thank you so much for having us here. I really appreciate for the opportunity of talking to you. Pizza Africana. We're looking forward for you to conquer the food industry.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, that is Pizza Africana. You can get yourself a piece of pizza from them, and then you tell us how that went. Those are part of the businesses which we are highlighting across the Republic. Here as KUTV Kenya and Biashara Tuesday, to be specific, we're very keen in seeing what young people are doing to create opportunities, to leverage what is around them as resources, and also build up their careers or their business prospects. So if you have something of interest, something that you think our audience can learn, or if if you feel like we could highlight your business as well, we're very glad to come through to the ground. So hit us up on our social channels or on our email addresses as well. You can find them easily on our KUTV website, and then we'll be able to reach back to you and get to you on the ground, learn a business here or two, because that's what Biashara Tuesday is all about. I'm glad that we've been able to be patient and stay with us all this while. It is at around 8:30 in the morning. We have some time to go all the way to 10, so it's exciting. There's much more coming up on Biashara Tuesday. My table is littered with the dailies this morning. The Daily Nation specifically is what we are taking a look at, the headlines and more important stories that are touching on the direction of the economy. Blocked. That's all the Daily Nation has as the headline on the front of the Daily Nation, and we'll be taking a look at it with Jesse Kimotho and other issues. The state of the nation. What is the direction we're heading towards, given that there's a budget for the 2023-2024 financial year, but there's no Finance Act which finances that budget. High Court has already extended that freezing order on the implementation of the Finance Act, and it's now been transmitted to the Supreme Court for deliberation by a 3-judge or not less than a 3-judge bench, and that is going to be chaired by the Chief Justice Martha Koome. Let me take a break and bring back Jessica Kimotho. Don't go far. Welcome to our newspaper review segment. We're bringing you the latest headlines and as well analyzing the most significant news stories of the day. We're focusing today on the recent High Court ruling that declined to lift the conservatory orders on the finance bill or the Finance Act of 2023, given that President William Ruto already signed it. This ruling has very significant impact on impacts and implications on the implementation of that act, and is now raising substantial constitutional issues, which we are taking a look at with Jesse Kimotho, and much more actually that is happening in the dailies. But let me introduce him, and then we can get into the meat of this conversation. Jesse, welcome back.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, KUTV.
Well, how have you been?
I have been well. I've enjoyed, viewing the show. Viewing yesterday, I watched Karen Blessing's show.
Yeah.
Art and Culture Monday. They had deeper connection. I really enjoyed the music.
Yeah.
It was a lovely experience, and I'm glad to be back.
Right. I watched the show as well. Deeper Connection is an amazing band, and I'm hoping we have as well a deeper connection. Yeah. I had to throw that pun in there. But welcome back again. Always lovely to have you here. Mm-hmm. What is your general feel of the state of the nation? Before now we can see what the headlines have preferred to be the headlines.
Sure. I think right now it is a very exciting time for politics in Kenya. It's actually, the time when, things are moving. We are seeing a lot of change. So if there's a time to really want to be involved in politics, it is now. To be there and, to kind of, this time will come up, publicly participate and offer your voice. Yes.
Public participation has actually been such a common word recently. Do you feel like maybe Kenyans are waking up to the idea of their role in democracy, or is it the failure of government that has led that?
I think it's a bit of both. Kenyans are really feeling the crunch, so that even your support for preference for one leader or the other has now been turned because and again, one term that we will introduce is clientelism, which is the idea that because you are offered a favor or because you are you receive benefits from your leader, you offer your support to them. So that clientelistic bond between the politician and the citizen that they are serving has been weakened or strengthened.
All right, I see. Let's get into the dailies then, and then we get to more of those terms and see how they apply to the context of the stories. The Daily Nation at the front of the pages. You can let me just maybe begin at the top before I get to the headline. The the top there's a very interesting story, Jesse, that will be there on page 2 on how a mobile phone gave away a suspect in a murder case that happened over in the coastal region. Someone who sent texts here and there, and eventually authorities were able to nab him at an entertainment joint while he was sipping beer, oblivious of what was happening to him. There on page 8 we'll get a story on the Iranian president, who is also called Raisi. That's his actual name. So Raisi wa Iran is doing a 3-day tour in Kenya, and you can read much more of it before we get into that story on page 8. Bilateral ties between Kenya and Iran that will be facilitating trade, a movement of goods and services between both countries that's going to be favorable. On the back page, the IMF board is going to meet Kenya. Is going to meet to decide on Kenya's new 57 billion loan, which is supposed to be availed once, of course, this is convened, or of course, that the IMF board gets to make the decision. On the headline, the priority story is blocked, and there we see the face of the President William Ruto, who's currently not in the country, but President Ruto has suffered another blow yesterday after the High Court declined to lift orders suspending the implementation of the Finance Act 2023, instead asking the Chief Justice to constitute a bench to hear the weighty taxation matters. This comes as a reprieve to Kenyans hit hard by the high cost of living and for whom higher taxes will translate into worsening an already bad situation. A story that is there on page 7. At the bottom of the Daily Nation, smiling faces of Azimio la Umoja leader Raila Odinga, and here is flanked by Kenyans in this matatu which is plying the Ngong Road route. I think, Jesse, you are from that side of town, yeah? Maybe you were in this matatu or not, you will tell us a bit later. But here, Mr. Raila Odinga is quoted saying that we are peaceful citizens who respect the rule of law. We will exercise our democratic right peacefully and in an organized manner on Wednesday. That's tomorrow. Also part of his bid to raise 10 million, the number of signatures that he feels 10 to 15 actually. Yesterday he said 15, last week on Friday he said 10, so 10 to 15 million signatures towards the motion of impeachment of the President of the Republic. Some of those issues that Raila Odinga is prioritizing, 3 of them: high cost of living, the IEBC, and then the SAVA, which never misses in his addresses. Jesse, I don't know where we can begin, but I think the headline takes it. Blocked. Yeah?
Yeah.
Who is blocked here, and who is this who can no longer reply to this message?
So currently, what is happening is the court, the High Court, led by Justice Mugure Tunde, has declared it, have temporarily blocked the implementation of the Finance Act, and that Ruto was essentially probably going to use to raise money for his government, rather to increase the revenue that they would obtain, mainly through taxes.
Okay.
Yes, and the other, the kind of point being underneath that is the secondary ruling that the EPRA, which is the board that regulates the more or less the price of fuel, was unconstitutional in its raising of the fuel prices here in Kenya.
Right, and that is that's a story you can get to look at in the Daily Nation, page 7. But now, Jesse, when we analyze the details of this particular ruling, there is unconstitutionalism, which is being pointed out by the Senator Busia County. Public participation, which we highlighted earlier, was an issue of concern. 90% actually of Kenyans who were surveyed voted that the finance bill of 2023 was not favorable to them. But it seems that this was not put into consideration, a matter which is also there pointed out by the Senator of Busia County. On its other end, the government is declaring shutdown, saying that if they don't get to implement this as soon as possible, actually the Attorney General pointing out that there's need for a temporary lift of the suspension for at least maybe 10 days, so the government can get to run its day-to-day business, access to the consolidated fund, repayment of debts, and running of normal constitutional government business. When you take a look at these two scenarios, we're presented with a government that is crying and saying, we need money. We need to raise more money to do operations that are going to run things provided by the Constitution. But on the other end, we have a petition that says the government is being unconstitutional with the implementation of this Finance Act. In what kind of position do you think CJ Martha Koome will find herself in once this is landing on her table?
Sure. So that's a very good question. I think we told what is on our minds, but then it is important whenever you look at the judiciary to understand one thing, that nothing else is above the law. So and what does the law say? And we've seen the judiciary, especially at these very high levels, consistently in the past be very keen on following and making rulings that are based on the law. That's why we had very iconic rulings in the past. Especially if you look at the 2016 election of Uhuru. Now coming to this, the Busia Senator Omtata, it says on page 7, this is his main argument, is that it is mandatory, number one, for the bill to be introduced for consideration in the originating house. But for that to happen, they must first concur with the Speaker of the other house, and that was not done. So the constitutional process at that specific point, was not followed. There are like 5 other petitioners in the case, and as well as this case, as the case being backed by other, petitions filed by, it says here, the Trade Union Congress of Kenya, the Kenya Human Rights Commission, the Law Society of Kenya. So there are a lot of legal entities and paralegal entities that are backing this move, and they are doing so on very many counts. This is just one but of the many places we've seen. Public participation has also been the other point that was noted. You said last week on Biashara Tuesday that this was the fastest act.
The fastest bill that has been sent to law. Yes.
Yeah, apart from the one that Ruto did the day he got elected.
Oh yeah, sure. Sure.
But this is the second fastest one.
Or the fastest finance bill.
Yeah. The fastest finance bill. And you see, it is like that for a reason, and that is why these guys are decrying. On the other hand, Professor Ndungu and the government official lawyer, the Attorney General, Justice Muturi, are stating,
the government's official lawyer, right?
are stating that they, they're stating pains on different levels. They're stating that so many guys, or so many of their entities, such as the EPRA, are going to be in a lot of legal trouble, because you can imagine the lawsuits that are following this that will be filed. People will go say, you charge us money, it was unconstitutional, give us back our money. Yeah?
Right. It's actually here on page 7 that you can get to see that by the time of going to press, the court, it was not yet clear how the court is going to handle the application to cite EPRA Managing Director Daniel Kipto for contempt, even after the agency adjusted fuel prices upwards, despite being served with a court order. And this is still in effect up to today, despite the second ruling that happened yesterday. This is, a conundrum that we find ourselves in. And the Constitution, I think we are now scrutinizing the Constitution a bit more than we have been before. What will be your speculation? Of course, you said there could be other lawsuits as well following that. And this is pending, of course, what CJ Koome decides. She could as well decide and say, the Finance Act is lawful. And that's why we are here waiting to see what the CJ says. But in case it goes the other way around, do you feel like we are going to see another process where maybe EPRA is unconstitutional and we're having a constitutional crisis on how to decide on some sections? Because one of the things that High Court Judge Mugure Thande said was that lifting that ban for maybe at least 10 days will not be constitutional, since maybe some parts will be implemented and it will be a bit difficult to get to decide after the lifting of this ban on where we lie as with the Constitution. That kind of crisis, how do you feel that we will navigate as a nation?
Sure, Richard. So I would invite us to turn back to fact. Again, when it's discussing matters of law, it's very important to be objective and to just really try and understand the due process. So in the last 2 paragraphs here in the Daily Nation, we see the take that Professor Ndungu has, because he argues that petitioners have failed to prove that the Finance Act was not subject to participation, and he lists his reasons. He goes ahead and says, the the bill that was subjected to public participation as admitted by the petitioners in the amended petition, paragraph 64B, the petitioner clearly said there was a call for stakeholders and general members of the public to come up and participate, and they received a total of 1,080 and 80 memoranda with the comments on the bill.
1,008 is actually 10 hundreds, so you're correct on that.
But then again, as you've said, and we've seen, in the last hour on the news panel, that the government is also being held to account by, for example, teachers. The TSC, teachers have given, for example, the TSC an ultimatum of 14 days to increase their salaries or else. So there is a lot of pressure on both sides, and I think the court in the past, again, I will hold fact to this fact that the rule of law, especially by the judiciary, is upheld very well in this kind of situations. It's now up to her to balance the expectations of these two, the petitioners and on the other side the government, and to find a compromise that works well. It's not us versus them. Okay. There can be a good midline that will be drawn. It's also important to know that this is a freeze. The government can still go back, have the public participation, and this act can still go through. Okay. Yes, so it's not do or die. In any case, it's important to be objective about that.
Right. This Finance Act is on top of the agenda by Raila Odinga, who we can see in page 3 of the Daily Nation. The city is abuzz of Raila's Nganya ride, and as media leader Raila Odinga is now seen here inside a matatu to Nairobi Central Business District yesterday, and this is just a few days from last week on Friday, where the demonstrations were called countrywide in the day of Sabasaba. The rally held at Kamkunji grounds and then later proceeding all the way to the CBD. The city is abuzz yesterday, seeing that Raila is, interacting with the common mwananchi. You were telling me earlier that Raila Odinga seems to be doing the bottom-up approach better than President William Ruto. What do we make of this, given that he was able to access the CBD actually without so much commotion as we are led to believe happens whenever Raila visits? Sure.
So this is a very interesting. I think we need to really dissect, like a set book. What happens here? Raila's play-by-play. First, he leaves home, Karen, in a matatu. I don't know if you've been there, but that road has actually been recently recarpeted. So it's a very nice, smooth ride. He gets on a matatu. He pays fare for everyone. So he paid fare for everyone. Everyone is traveling free, courtesy of Raila. And that is a very kind of grassroots approach. Think about it. It's not, you're not even kind of skipping over even, I would say, the middle class, and you're really going down to the people who are, the common, or local call even the most, the common man. So you're going down from the bottom up, and you are connecting at their level. There's this guy, I don't know if you've seen this image of this guy. Imagine you're in a matatu ride with Raila, but you're picking your phone.
Yeah, there's this guy totally unbothered, asking whatever he is on call.
Yeah, so get the nation and look at that meme for today.
Right, what kind of political play do you think is happening here? Is there a message that Raila Odinga is trying to send to President William Ruto, and what kind of message do you think we can derive from it?
I would argue everything he did is symbolic. Look at the two places he visited. He visited Tom Mboya's statue, and he visited Dedan Kimathi's statue. Let's get a bit into it. Dedan Kimathi was a freedom fighter. You see, his approach to the idea of freedom and liberation and political suppression was more physical and more in the streets. And if you want to mirror that back to Raila, what do we see? There's the mandamano. There's the willingness to really use your hands, use your very being for political liberation. on the flip side, we have Tomboya, who was who had a more democratic approach to this. He was very
diplomatic as well.
Exactly, and almost Jomo Kenyatta's right hand man at some point. And you see, he mirrors both of these kind of. He's the neo Tomboya. He's the neo Dedan Kimathi. Kind of
like an evolution from Dedan Kimathi to Tomboya now to Raila Odinga.
Exactly, and one thing that we say is Raila's position is not earned by votes.
Right.
Yes. So he's a leader.
He calls himself the people's president.
Exactly. Okay. So. Just to finish off, because I've seen so many memes about these people saying Baba finally amekalia kiti.
All right. Okay. We can get to read that and interpret the final remark by Jesse on page 3, Azimio la Umoja there, with and later addressing, of course, people at the CBD saying there's no mega maandamano happening tomorrow, which is going to be bigger than it has been before. Is it possible for the government to allow him to access the CBD as he did yesterday without so much commotion? Akuje now a walk from Kamukunji grounds all the way to town. What is the difference between yesterday and a maandamano tomorrow or last week on Friday?
Sure, and I think this is something we discussed with my dad, James Kimoto. His birthday coincidentally is on Sabasaba.
Oh,
and
happy belated birthday.
And here's the thing, out down the street when I was taking my boda ride back home on Mandamano Day, I asked the rider, I asked him, and this is what we call qualitative research, so on the ground, this is like an interview. I asked him, what will you do the next Mandamano? The consensus we reach is we'll wait for Raila to tell us. Because in this sense, people will react to whatever he'll do. If you go back, I urge you, dear viewer, go back to the last hour and look at the news panel. Wakidhure Kindiki, after he talked on the security issues and the steps that the government was taking to address security, he talked about Mandamano and he said, the only Mandamano we want is you go out, you see what is going on,
and then you come back.
Yeah, they don't want. So you can see, and I think this kind of is more of a, I would say, political move. It's a more of a political move to kind of maybe press that politically. But I don't think the government is happy, and I think but the other thing that I will say is I believe that this Mandamano will have a bigger audience, will have a bigger participation. Why? Because the other one happened. And Raila has spoken today. Tomorrow is Mandamano.
Right.
Yes.
Those are events which are following each other real quick, and the consequences, of course, and the impact will be felt tomorrow, where we'll be following it up and relaying it back to you as it happens on the ground with our reporters. Part of the things that he'll be doing in this Mandamano is raising that 10 to 15 million signatures towards the impeachment motion of President William Ruto. He's not been in office for a year yet, and calls of impeachment have been there even within the first 4 months from the opposition. Parts of some of those issues that Raila, of course, is putting there as subsections under the cost of living is, since the elections, of course, the reconstitution of the IEBC, as well as the opening of the servers. Of course, the signatures themselves, as the Constitution does not provide signatures as a means of removing a president from office. However, it gives leeway for any member of parliament or for the opposition to bring up a motion using these signatures in parliament and get at least a majority of parliament, I think 2/3 of members of parliament, to support it and push over to the Senate for that impeachment motion. Now, do you feel the government says that this is going to be an exercise in futility, and they've been downplaying as well, as we've seen with Mandamano and as we've seen with what has happened last week on Sabasaba, and we're expecting much more happening tomorrow. Should they still downplay the 10 million signatures? Is it possible for Raila to raise 10 to 15 million signatures, and what can he use this for? Political goodwill, actual impeachment, or just a political move?
Sure. So let's look at some quantitative facts.
Right.
So when you do research design, you look both at qualitative and quantitative.
Right.
So quantitatively, we can say that there are 22.2 million voters in the 2017 election.
Right.
10 million is a percentage shy of half of that. So if for nothing else, this is
a majority.
A near
majority.
A near majority. You know, Raila has kind of always in the elections always had that 40.
Yeah, he's always just right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know if this is symbolic, but you know, 10 million though is enough to send a message. I would say that almost half of the people who voted, some of them who voted for you, want you out. Now let's go back to the law. Remember, whenever we're talking about this, we have to be very constitutional. Let's
find ourselves in hot water.
Yeah, in the High Court.
All right.
But how could you even impeach the president? This is done when a legislator that is supported by at least a third of all MPs moves a motion for impeachment on 3 grounds. And these are what grounds are these? A gross violation of a provision of the Constitution or of any other law, serious reasons for believing that the president has committed a crime under national or international law, or for gross misconduct.
Right.
So we have to validate that Ruto, William Ruto, who is the president, President William Ruto.
Yes,
he's still our president, so we must.
President Dr. William Ruto.
Yes. Has committed any of these 3 offenses, and that will be it's a bit of an uphill task, but I think this is like the first step possibly in that direction. I think it is more of a sign than of a threat.
Okay.
For now.
Okay.
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah.
But when you now pointed it out, I got to think around this gross violation of a provision of this Constitution or any other law. If the Supreme Court, or if Justice Martha Koome finds that there was a violation of the provision of the Constitution, that is towards the assenting into law of the finance bill, there was unconstitutionalism. In what position would that put the president then? Does that push him a step closer? That gets us out of that for now, and now we say, maybe now really he could be impeached.
Sure, and I think it's important to possibly look at this like in a larger perspective. I don't think that if we are to see impeachment, it should come from the houses. We would probably see a more political version of that. And as it stands, I think in as much as Raila is doing very well on the ground, we can see that him and his allies are possibly losing ground politically. Yes, we've seen, Ruto circle kind of growing wider, encroaching even to the.
Would this be why then the government says it's an exercise in futility, knowing, Brigadier Gachagua, the deputy president, is quoted yesterday saying, "Hata wakikollect 10 million, watapeleka wapi?" So is it maybe pointing towards that exercise in futility means they are already confident in how their majority in parliament, given that here in the article that you just quoted, the Article 145 of the Constitution, if this motion is brought in through to parliament, as you said there, at least a third of all members may move the motion for impeachment. They are aware of their majority in these houses. Could that be, that feel of confidence coming from?
That's the first step, because after that, what needs to happen is if the motion is supported by at least 2/3 of all members of the National Assembly, you need a majority. Then the Speaker will relay the information to his Senate counterpart within 2 days, and then within 7 days of getting the National Assembly's resolution, the Senate Speakers will convene a meeting of the Senate to hear the charges against the President, and then they need to appoint a committee of 11 senators to investigate the matter. Then they return the matter in 10 days. You can see it's a bit more...
It's a process.
Yeah, but it's actually moving fast as far as legislative processes and constitutional processes go. But you can see that it needs to enjoy a majority support. And I think we should also not be too harsh on the president and his government.
Okay.
I think, as it's important even as Kenyans to, as you've seen, Raila is both a democratic and so we are hoping to see, because really we want, as we said earlier, constitutionally speaking, an understanding, not a complete divergence. So let us not preach. So what I would say is, we will probably see the expected outcome is a political amalgamation, an agreement of both sides that benefits everyone.
Okay.
Yes, and I believe that that's the direction that this, and that's the reason possibly for these signatures. Not a diversion, but a convergence, a political convergence.
Probably the reason why the High Court decided to transmit this to the highest, legal head in the Republic as well, in deliberating with the Finance Act of 2023. So hopefully Chief Justice is also thinking about a way to find a middle ground there that will lead us to, what do you say? A convergence, right?
Yes.
Rather than a divergence. That's the Daily Nation blocked. That's the, what do you think of the headline?
I think it's a pretty good headline. One word, one man there.
Yeah.
One act.
Very straightforward there. I think we have to commend the Daily Nation for that. There's a cartoon, while we're still at it, by Ndula. I don't know if you can get it up on the screen as well, page 17 of the Daily Nation. It shows three very interesting characters who are of key public interest at the moment. Yeah, we have it now on the screen. The Finance Act 2023. We're done with the High Court twice. Now we're knocking at the Supreme Court. This is a very funny one, but I think also apt this morning. As someone who does art, as an artist yourself, any commentary on this?
I think it's very funny. It's very symbolic. We see an Nokia, senator, we see a senator, okay, from Tata, holding William Ruto's hand. And the Finance Act 2023 is there, and he's taking him directly to Justice Mugure.
Taking every door. This is Kwame.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry, Martha Kwame.
He's just off from Mugure's office, now heading out to Kwame. All right, so you can get to see that. I think it's pretty straightforward, and that wraps our commentary there on the Finance Act 2023. We'll be taking your feedback as well on what you feel will be the direction that will happen at the Supreme Court. Headlines, great show, Sir Richard. Let's get the bug. Francis Maina saying, very energetic show. Good morning, OKENYE and Jesse. Watching from Juja. Wabebe Nanganya. That is headlines. Hashtag Biashara Tuesday by Sir Richard. Seth Ndirangu. Great interpretation of current affairs by Jesse Kimotho. Great show at KUTV. Thank you very much, Seth Ndirangu, for tuning in. Also, tell us where you are tuning in from. And commendation on Jesse's interpretation of current affairs continues. Let's hear what he has to say about the other issues which are there here on the Daily Nation. There's problem for former President Uhuru Kenyatta. I think let's finish the higher ranks first before we come back to common mwananchi. Let's get to former President Uhuru Kenyatta here on page 5. And it says, partyless, Uhuru's top allies are losing court battle for Jubilee. When I took a look at this headline, Jesse, without reading the details first, it gave me a sense of more trouble for the side of Azimio, given Jubilee is allied to the Azimio side, or is part of the Azimio La Umoja coalition. Former MPs Jeremiah Kioni and David Murathe had already taken a course by presenting this before the courts, and they have lost that court battle after the party registrar declared that he and Murathe were duly removed from the office. I'd love to hear comments from Ojwang Mariam, who is well versed in matters of the Jubilee Party. Atuambie what he feels about this. But does this spell doom for the Azimio side, which, as we heard from Raila Odinga saying that part of the issues was part of the, I would call it, vendetta he has against President William Ruto, is that ananunua wabunge wetu, quoting him directly there, and we're seeing that they're losing this to a rival group within Jubilee Party, which is somehow tied to President William Ruto.
Great. I want to come back to the word we learned earlier during our session, clientelism. And there are what clientelism is. The dictionary definition is it's a social order which depends on relations of patronage. And in a patriarchy, in a patronage system, the person who gives the support is the patron. So in this case, we are seeing the former patron has lost, his members to another patron who is giving them more, would say more benefits. But you see, politically speaking, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. We need to understand that clientelism, we work on a system on clientelism almost on a daily level. So, it might be, for example, that, it is good to be allied to the president, for example, because then you get a better share of the governmental goodwill to take back to your constituents. So, in politics, I wouldn't say like sometimes not an issue of wrong or right. I would say it's an issue of left or right. It's more objective. And what is happening here? We all need to become fast experts in legal jungle. We need to learn and really understand that what new processes are these. And you'll see that the tribunal in this piece here in the Daily Nation, they've gone to great lengths to show exactly what was wrong legally. And it might be that this might be the truth. Number one, you are a victim to clientelism, but as well, it is becoming kind of clear that they did not follow legal process. Yeah, and I think again the courts and these tribunals are a good proving ground for who is wrong or right because they follow the law. Yeah, so
you're not too worried about the Jubilee Party. That's what I can read from your remarks there.
Well, I would say this. I feel bad for President Uhuru Kenyatta. I think, seeing now a lot of the infrastructure and, the kind of benefit that he brought to not only his party, but the government, I feel like he's getting a bit of a raw deal. He was, he played the game correctly. He took care of his
people.
Yeah. And I think, it just so happens that he's losing his fast friends, and as we said earlier, this has other ramifications, especially for we know that Raila and Kenyatta were fast friends, so possibly this support would have been extended to Raila, and somehow we see that again. There is a disconnect.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Okay. That's you can get to read on the proceedings, of course, on what happened since Mr. Jeremiah Kioni filed the petition to the Political Parties Disputes Tribunal up to the deliberation which was made by that tribunal on some of those acts, including the Fair Administrative Act of 2015 that I'm seeing here, as well as other provisions. As Jesse said there, it's important that when it comes to these matters, we are well versed in matters of what is happening in the legal jungle, if I got your wording correct there. Just like Okia Umtata, who's made himself, of course, aware of what due process are there within the Constitution and within the judicial jurisdictions. Now, what should then President William Ruto, because I think we spoke a lot about the opposition, what Raila Odinga is up to, what High Court is up to, and what Martha Koome, the CJ, might be up to once this hits, the three-judge bench or more. How should President William Ruto position himself now? Now, given Raila Odinga is appealing to a more bottom-up, base than the president, as it seems at the moment. There is Mandamano coming up tomorrow. He's been facing issues with the courts. This Finance Act is actually just the second one of the very many court orders that President William Ruto has been facing the first 10 months that he's been in power. How should he position himself if he wants to have steadfast leadership in the next 4 years?
I think that it is important for him to remind Kenyans why they voted him into power. I think he can do that by, number one, if you are going to ask for money from your people, you should show that it is being put to good use. So you should possibly seek to show that you're giving them back, in terms of development, in terms of, your ministries working. And I think to some degree he's doing that. He is addressing, through his Minister of Security, Kithure Kindiki, you can fact check me on that. We've seen, him trying to address, these main issues that are coming. I mean, to kind of try and stimulate the economy, but he needs to be more prominent in that. How can he do that? Let's talk about it from a very qualitative point of view. Landscape ecology at KU. KU, again, Kenyatta University being a beautiful institution and one of the on the cutting edge of these developments. So he would have, for example, have partnered with the landscape ecologists who are seeking to target issues such as climate change and creating better, more sustainable climatic landscapes. That would have been a good point possibly to touch on and interact with investors. So it's important that he comes out and has a more a much greater kind of media presence. Seen showing that he can connect with the people. I think I would end my answer there.
Yes. Right. Technocrats, you did point out a bit earlier. You feel like he's failing. Has he balanced it well?
So I think he needs to switch from clientelistic. Because right now there are so many claims that you see that because again this is a new government entering into power, then they need time to adjust. But if he's seen becoming a technocracy, which is as I would say a society that is led by technologists and people who are on the cutting edge of technology, it would be better. It would appeal more, is what I'm saying.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. At the back of the at the back of the Daily Nation is where we get IMF, which is now meant to meet on Monday next week to approve a 57 billion Kenyan loan. The IMF will also discuss loan requests under resilience and sustainability facility, which is something that you've mentioned there, pointing out to the ecology, climate change. And we've seen the president, while giving addresses outside the Republic, pushing that goal towards climate action as a republic and contributing to climate action on the international front. And today, a 3-day visit is also starting between the Iranian Rais and the host, that is President William Ruto. We'll receive him for a 3-day tour in which they will discuss, of course, bilateral trade, but the president of Iran is expected to visit Africa in other countries like Uganda and Zimbabwe as well. There's also, for the past, there's information here on the Daily Nation that you can read that for the past 24 years, actually, Kenya has been a very good partner with Iran. Maybe this and much more of some of that that you've been saying will be a show by President William Ruto that is actually delivering his promises to the people, and then can leave the rest of the sideshows to us and the opposition.
Sure, I think this would be, especially looking, as you said, there are very good things happening still in the country.
Right.
And this is a very exciting prospect. Just looking at the numbers, that they are saying that Kenya will export 40 to 50 tons of sheep and meat per day, with an estimated export value of $6 million. That's around almost 100. That's almost 900 million shillings. To Iran, and that can create a very big market, especially for these industries that have been suffering. Again, tied in well with the issue of climate change and climate conservancy, it will really help boost what we call income, so that the people themselves can be stimulated to earn more. Other interesting facts that that are passing through this kind of pipeline, this Iranian Pakistani pipeline, is that 50% of Kenyan exports of tea are to Pakistan, and so we see that these are good partners to have for a lot of the industries that we have supported classically in the past, such as tea, and will cause their growth not across the border.
Right. Read more of what the President Raisi. Anything what do you think of what kind of coincidence this is that Raisi wa Iran anaitwa Raisi?
I think if I was him in Kenya, everyone would be telling. I would be tired probably. I think he's been told that 50 times.
Yeah, he'll be hearing
it. I think he might like it. It's something that I would be proud of if your name was President.
Right, Raisi. Yeah. Okay, so that's as much as is happening with that Iranian president, which is a 3-day visit to Kenya. Page 8 is where you read much more, and then the IMF story, which I just highlighted, and is there at the back page. Jesse, one more story of concern, which is in matters of education. I know you are, I don't want to quote you wrongly here, but I know you greatly admire the CBC system. I wanted to say greatly support, but let me say greatly admire if I get your comment. The CBC task force recommended by President William Ruto once he got into power to do, to take a look at, the implementation phase and see if there are reforms that can be implemented or there are some changes that we can do within this CBC curriculum. Here on page 12 of the Daily Nation, there's relief for CBC classrooms, where contractors are now going to do a phase 2 of the project of classrooms, 3,200 classrooms, which are going to be put up in primary schools and and also in secondary schools. And these are going to be a total of 1,900 secondary schools across the country in anticipation for grade 7, under that CBC, who are going to be joining the secondary school. However, there are also other recommendations, including there was a rushed implementation of the CBC. Teachers did not receive enough training, and now we are faced with teachers issuing an ultimatum to TSC that 14 days in case they don't revise their salaries, and also that CBA, because of the high cost of living, we're going to have a crisis in education. Who will save us?
Great. Yes. So I applaud the CBC effort. I think it's a very refreshing breath of air. Let me just give you some quick facts about CBC. For those of us who studied a long time ago, I think it offers a lot of new, refreshing, opportunities for young minds. They study 11 subjects. 11 subjects. I think that's amazing. Right from the start. Yes. And it's very beautiful. They study arts and craft. I, as an artist, I began what I would call my, official study of art and craft in high school when I was almost 16 years old. Can you imagine if I learned when I was 2? I would have been Picasso.
I knew that's why
in my own right, I would say I have my own artistic pride. And shout out to my mother, especially Margaret Kimodo. She really pushed a pencil at me at a young age. And I think it's important, even though the pencil is crooked and broken, that it gets to these young learners. Yes. And we have a very, when the population increases, you've always seen the population charts. Where is it widest? It is widest at the bottom.
That's true.
I think as a father myself, she was very young. She's an 10-month-old daughter now, Liana. It can be very, when I see this, I'm
much of education of importance to you.
I'm thinking about school fees soon. I've already started looking for a school. Yes, me and Marcella, we are
teachers will be on strike. Where will you take your kid?
But this is good because why? I think speaking, from an opinion point of view, this is more jobs. More classrooms, more jobs. These classrooms though are being constructed at a cost of 788,000 each. Whether that is good or bad, I've let my friends there at the Ministry of Work to
do the
tell me. Yes. So it can be. I think this is a good effort.
Right. All right. You've avoided that comment on the notice that has been given by teachers on to TSC. Do you? Who will save us?
The person who will save us is Benjamin Sogomo from page 16 of the Daily Nation opinion piece. And he talks about the plan. He says that the headline here is TSC rushed strategic plan. And he says that the TSC should consider ceding some duties that are not central to its mandate. I think we should focus more on restructuring, a lot of what is happening with the TSC. A lot of these services, for example, have not been, the devolution of them had never been fully done. And, Benjamin here offers a lot of opinion. For example, he says, I think, that the strategic report, that was released by the Presidential Working Party of Education Reform, which we've also seen there, was shocking and intriguing. So he really goes in on how we can what is wrong and how we can remedy the situation. So if you really want to get in on that, page 16, Benjamin Sogomo has a hot take.
Right, Benjamin actually also does speak, as you said there, on the restructuring, TSC ceding some of its powers. As you said, devolution happened and some of these services might have been left behind. We see KRA trying to rebrand to a service. We saw the National Police Force also moving to a National Police Service. Whether that's true as well is still up for debate considering the recent events. But also, I think TSC should be taking a leaf there. Finally, Jesse, I know there's so much on these papers, but I have a story that I'd like you to comment on, which is, I think the Gen Z amongst us will enjoy to learn. It's on Healthy Nation Pullout at the middle of the Daily Nation, and it's talking about clickbaits. Children as young as 9 years are being lured into online sex dens to satiate the perverted desires of a global cartel. Inside that, desperate calls for help from some of the victims and unimaginable pain from their parents. Maybe to put it into context first, Jesse, what do you understand clickbaits are? And then we can see what the Daily Nation is telling us as we wrap up.
Yes, so I think the idea is misleading. Literally misleading is to sell something bad as good. And I think it's very important for us to be vigilant, especially when it comes, to our younger generation. As we said, if you look at that chart, the population chart of most countries, especially for Kenya, it is widest at the bottom. And so even a small leak at the bottom leads to a very big problem at the top. So do read that in the Daily Nation. However, I want to kind of flip this onto a positive light, and my county of the week is Kiambu County. I don't know if you saw, but they have taken very serious actions to address, a lot of the issues that they have with drugs and drug abuse in the county, and you spoke a bit about that earlier. And I think, just to highlight a few of the points that you talked about that I really enjoyed was, number one, the government via, its administrative chiefs, APs, and police. The local government is, number one, cracking down on illicit and illegal and fake, contraband. So, number one, it's taking even measures, what I would say measures to prevent the people who are using from, experiencing some of the worst effects. It's also taking, as we saw them, there was an encouragement for the community to embrace, the people who are already,
affected.
Yes, exactly. And that is, I think, also something that we've seen come out very strongly in this Daily Nation pullout. These are matters that are very close to my heart, and I think for Kiambu County, especially, again, urging users to go back to YouTube, watch that section, do your homework. Yeah, but it's done really well in ensuring like a decrease in these issues that are facing the youth.
Finally, a positive take still on this clickbait story, since it's mostly on children who are using the internet, and I know, as you mentioned there, as a young father, that children are now using these online spaces for school, recreation, and other connections on a social level. How would you advise maybe we are going into a very increased digital age where access to the internet, online resources is available to even a 4-year-old, a 3-year-old with a smartphone in the house, really. How would you feel is the best way a parent will approach such issues of clickbait and maybe online abuse of children?
I think it's good to possibly cultivate a relationship, what I call a working relationship, where you can kind of at a micro level, talk with your community, your family about this, and share with your children, even your parents. So even for me, there's a big challenge there, but I'm willing to take it up. Yeah, and I think also at a macro level, moderation is something that, possibly, when the internet began, it was meant to be this free space, but we're seeing increasingly the need for moderation. And, they usually say Twitter isn't a real place, and then we ever, it's become very important for us to then self-moderate, but even in these communities and in these spaces to have this kind of moderation. But that said, again, it is important to remain hopeful.
Should we be aggressive? Maybe the government, we know countries such as China and, others who have restricted access to some certain content here and there, or some certain sites here and there. Should we go to that, extreme, as C.S. Kindiki calls the opposition, political extreme? Should we go to that kind of social extreme and ensure that we are just blocking off this, maybe for our younger generations?
No, I don't think so, because I think the internet is, very amazing. I think what we can do is this, because I work in the digital space and I work remotely.
You're fully remote worker.
Yes, for my team at Actual Food, I promised I will shut them out, but my boss, Joao, is Portuguese. Victor is Kenyan, he's a doctor. Bradley is in Singapore. Kaylee is in the United States, and my good friend and my CEO Greg Greenberg is in the US, and Tana Friedberg is in the US too. So we want to get our youth to that level where they can be competitive on the global scale. How do you do this? You empower them, you show them how to code, you show them how to design, you give them pencils at a young age, and that way when they learn to have this part, how to use it, they will not use it badly. Yes, they will not. So we teach them at a young age. So we use positive reinforcement. Thank you.
Positive reinforcement. That's a very good comment there. And positively, maybe just to end on a positive note, at the back of the Daily Nation, new business listings have spiked as 9,000 firms close in 5 years. New business listings are spiking in the Republic. Maybe this is what the government wanted us to do, to start business on our own. The times are tough, no job opportunities. Read much more of it at the back of the Daily Nation. Very good report there by Bran Ambani on the number of companies that are now dissolving. It is quite low compared to the number of companies that we are registering every year. So young people take up this opportunity, and the more we register, the more business, there's ease of doing business, and the government, might provide policies that are going to be favorable towards the setting up of businesses by young people. Jesse, anything that I might have left, this is your time to do it.
Yes. Just following up, segueing, from what you said, the DN2, powering SMEs, it talks very well, especially about how if you're a young lady, how you can venture, or a man, I will not. You can venture into the eyelash business, and I know eyelashes. I'm a dear friend of mine. Yeah, she gets eyelashes at 100 bob, and they look very nice when you put them on. So you can with as little as 100 bob, you
can buy an eyelash and use it.
Or sell it to your friends. You tell them you can enter into the eyelash business. So I think it's important even for young people, for young people such as my younger cousin Olaf. He's just 18 years old, but it's important for him to learn how to survive. And I think the DN2 has very good advice for people like him, to venture into.
If there's anything to tell you, we need to learn how to survive, is still at the front of the Daily Nation, the Finance Act, the cost of living, which is slightly, affecting, slightly or majorly affecting almost every single Kenya. Slight relief as well. This July, power prices are expected to drop. As we point towards EPRA implementing the fuel levy, we also have to say thank you so much on this other side. Electricity might be cheaper in July. You can check that story on page 12. Consumers have been handed a slight relief after the energy regulator reduced the electricity prices for July by 3.5%, translating to lower power bills this month. So some of those charges there, forex and other levies which have been put by EPRA will be reduced. So expect your tokens to be a bit cheaper. There's actually a percentage there, Jesse. I don't know if you've gotten it so that you can wrap up with it. On page 25 there.
Yeah, they say it's 3.5%. Usually 100 bob gets you 3.86 units. So as a Kenyan, I want to just quickly do the math.
Do that math live on air here. They're saying though for others who have been paying 28 Kenyan shillings per kilowatt hour, the electricity, they'll now be paying 27 per unit this month of July. I expect for a large scale operation, this is going to be very favorable for them. The month, what does it bring?
We will get 3.7249 instead of 3.86. It's okay. That is that's lights for one more day for every 100 days 3.
That's 0.2 token.
I'll take it. And for petrol, especially with the EPRA, that's lower. That's a 13 bob. Decrease at the pump. So it'll be a huge relief. It'll be a really big relief even for that moment. So if you have a car now, is the time to fuel it.
All right. Thank you very much, Jesse, for having this discussion with us.
My pleasure, Richard, Ryan, and the rest of the team.
Right.
Cheers.
All right. Any final remark on the state of the nation and any shout-outs that you want to give? This is your floor.
Sure. I think I subtly shouted out everyone. Many more people shout out. But I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for tuning in to Biashara Tuesday and the newspaper review. I'd like to thank everyone at home and my family and friends. Daniel, who recently got married. Cheers.
That's it. All right, here feedback I see from Mary Christine. This guy, Jesse, is very sharp, very eloquent, and well-versed in knowledge. Money has been poured, Jesse. This is good work. This is good work, yeah. And good articulation as well from Joy Alana, who's watching, and we are very grateful that they could be able to create time this morning on Biashara Tuesday and the newspaper review section with Jesse Kimotho, a political scientist and an artist and an all-round amazing human being, self-proclaimed Picasso. I'll be back after this short break. Biashara Tuesday is still on air.
On Health is a show that creates awareness on matters health and informs you on various diseases, their causes, treatment, prevention, coping, and support. So join me, Bwari Michelle, every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. only on KUTV. You can also follow us on our social media platforms at KUTV Focus on Health on Facebook and also on YouTube, and Health Focus on Instagram, because your health is your wealth. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Hello everyone, this is the new chapter of Let's Be Fit. I'll be host DiCaplo. I'm here to give you various workouts. I'll be having different trainers. We'll have Zumba classes, we'll have aerobics classes, we'll have boxercise, we'll have kata box, just name them. The show comes every Thursday from 6:30 a.m. to 7 a.m. Keep it locked, make sure we keep fit, and that's it from me to you. Let's be fit.
Tunakula usiku, tuachane na break kwanza, tuende lunch. Chapo. Yoyo. Kama ndimo.
Rasha piga shada kuna giza, sikinai tujinai siweke story. Kata maji pia shada liko na
to the Church O'Clock Show. I'm your host, Esther Becky.
And my name is DJ Teros.
We start you off with a word of prayer and get you started with a live transformational worship experience. And have our minds renewed by the word of God on the word segment.
And not forgetting new music za hii wiki, yani ndakuwa bado nawapatia pale wasanii wamekuwa kiwakali. So make sure manzo umetune in, because zitakuwa zina flow pia pale mixes kwa wingi, yani zitakuwa zina come through, and pia performance yani from our gospel artist hapa on Gospel Art
from 7
to 10 a.m. only on KUTV.
It's the kind of life I ever wanted. Money, power, moves, and it does. And I also went to like a seminary school too, like where I'm supposed to be like a reverend father. I've always been around music all my life. Yeah, I mean, it's up to every artist to know what motivates them. I saw you with the content, tell me nonsense. Say we no get him, memo take the content. Check my watch, you go see na gas timing.
What are some of the ways through which you can develop these skills so that you are comfortably fitting into the job?
You have to put yourself in positions where you are uncomfortable in the sense that you are not clear about what to do.
Because I used to work a corporate job before. So when I left, I happened to visit someone's farm around this area.
So this project is called Security Breach Detector and Readiness Familiarize. It is meant to be used to detect, detonate explosive.
We'll tackle all the tough issues, discuss all the weird moments, and hopefully share a few laughs along the way.
Very beautiful morning that you're still with us on KUTV Rise today, 9:42 in the morning Nairobi time, but kama uko huko nje pia unaweza tuambia ni masaa gani saa hizi. It's been quite an amazing show, speaking with Jesse Kimotho and also taking a look at the developments all across the world in terms of politics and also the economy. We've taken a look at the Finance Act of 2023. All eyes now are set on the Supreme Court, which will be a tribunal set up by the Chief Justice Martha Koome to see whether the new wave of taxes, the first wave of taxes by His Excellency President William Ruto, will take effect or if it's unconstitutional. A lot of matters there to deliberate on, including EPRA's implementation of those levies which stay suspended but are still active. If you go to any petrol station near you right now, a liter of petrol is going for around 195 Kenyan shillings, an upward hike of about 13 shillings from what it was June 30th, when it was the last day that was, for the approval of the finance bill, which is now the Finance Act of 2023. World Bank and IMF want CBK Act amended to tighten controls on the use of their loans. The Office of the Auditor General, I'm seeing here, has recently also raised queries on the lack of financial statements on the public debt and non-disclosure of all guaranteed debts, commitment fees, and debt service costs. The Finance Act, which is now in suspension, was done. This was a petition by the Senator of Busia County, that is Okia Omtata. Senator Okia Omtata as well pointed out a few weeks back that the National Treasury and the Central Bank of Kenya do not have figures that provide an actual statement on the amount of public debt we have. There's no financial statement that provides the actual figure on the public debt that you do have, domestic or foreign, which gives a view that it could be possible that we have been paying illegal loans to unnamed persons. The World Bank and IMF now want CBK to tighten and control on the use of these loans, and also the Office of the Auditor General has confirmed as much. You can get to hear much more of this or read much more of this on what has been there on the Daily Nation. We had the Daily Nation today, but if you have the Standard, the Business Daily, and any other out there, you can tell us what the headlines are like there and what deliberations you can make out of it. But before I hear what you have to say, we move to a little bit of briefing from Siaya, where leaders have warned President William Ruto to ignore the ongoing collection of signatures to express dissatisfaction against his government at his own peril. The leaders, led by Siaya Governor James Orengo and Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, said that the constitution was clear, that citizens were sovereign and could bring about change in Kenya using parliamentary or extra parliamentary processes. At the same time, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has called out government for what he calls insensitivity to the cries of Kenyans.
John Apodo Mos
Speaking at Sindindi Primary School grounds in Uguja constituency during a funds drive in aid of 40 women groups in the area, leaders led by Siaya Governor James Orengo and the National Assembly Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi, the leader says that the constitution was clear that the citizens were sovereign and could bring about change in Kenya using parliamentary or extra parliamentary processes.
So we can decide through extra parliamentary means, through extra constitutional means to bring about change in Kenya. And we have done it before. When Parliament proved to be acting contrary to the wishes of the people, we said, we are going to the people. We are going to the people. And right now we have reached a situation where we must go back to the people because the people are sovereign. And they are going to
National Assembly Minority Leader, who is also the Ugunja MP, Opiyo Wandayi, told Kenya Kwanza leaders to stop poking noses into what the opposition is doing, including collection of signatures. Wandayi at the same time said President Ruto owes Nyanza region an apology following the violence against the youths who were demonstrating during the Sabasaba Day.
Before we can have any form of engagement with anybody, we want an unconditional apology from none other than Ruto himself on the matter of the police killings that happened on Friday in this region, in Kisumu and in Migori. It is not going to be business as usual. You cannot continue to kill our people.
Wiper Democratic Movement leader Kalonzo Musyoka has also condemned the Kenya Kwanza leadership for what he says being insensitive to the cries of the Kenyans over the heavy burden of taxation and the rising cost of living. He has condemned the actions in Parliament where it has been alleged that the ruling coalition lured opposition MPs to push for the passing of the finance bill.
Yani ni kusema kwamba kama yanafanyika kwa bunge basi tumehalalisha mambo ya hongo. And therefore, honestly, if a party takes a position, 4-line whip, and then you go against it, listen, 4 years ni kitu kidogo, imebaki 4 years. Now, one of the things we shall be petitioning Kenyans, after 1 year, you can be recalled.
The reactions come after the Sabasaba protest, where UDA party leaders are now calling for the arrest of opposition party leader for leading anti-government protest. Dorothy Musyoka, KUTV.
From Siaya, we go to Kilifi, where the county government has launched a SACCO initiative that is set to benefit low-income earners by providing financial services, business loans, and also house building with the funding from the Kilifi County government, along with different organizations. While launching the initiative, Kilifi Deputy Governor Flora Chibule cited that investment in SACCO is the only way to economic development.
As Kenyans continue to grapple with the high cost of living, Kilifi County government has launched a SACCO initiative that will target low-income earners in Kilifi County. While launching the Fungua Yetu SACCO, Kilifi County Governor Flora Chibule stated that the SACCO's launched will aim at improving the livelihoods of low-income earners, adding that investment in SACCOs is the best way to strengthen the economy and also raise income.
Manake tunaangalia katika mazingira yetu ni watu gani wanafanya kazi ya mikono ambao lazima washikwe mkono waweze kujiendeleza, wasiwe tu katika hali ile duni walio.
The Deputy Governor also stated that the county government has partnered with different organizations to ensure that no low-income earner in Kilifi County is left out.
Sasa hivi tuna SACCOs ambazo ziko katika wodi 20. Kwa hivyo tuko katika mbio hiyo tuhakikishe watu wetu wanawezeshwa. Na zaidi ni ile uwezesha fund ambayo tuna takribani bilioni 1 ya mtu yoyote ndani ya Kilifi. Tumesema hatubagui.
Memba yeyote, vikundi vyovyote vilivyo katika Fungua Yetu SACCO vitakuwa na uwezo wa kuaccess funding ama loans kupitia ambayo inaitwa uwezesha fund, ambapo watakuwa na kufikia mara 5 ya savings zao.
William Kazungu, one of the SACCO members who is a technician, explained the benefits of joining SACCOs and also urged fellow low-income earners to also join to boost their income.
Mimi kama fundi nikiwa nalipo pale, hata kama ni pesa nimepata 1,000 yangu, ninaweza wekeza kwa SACCO 200 kila siku, ile 800 nikajikimu. Hiyo 200 inaweza nisaidia kupata loan na nikajengewa hata nyumba.
The targeted low-income groups include laborers, technicians, gardeners, vegetable vendors, fish vendors, among others. Ruth Wanjiru, KUTV TV.
All right. One word I want you to take a note of is seditious, which is inciting or causing people to rebel against the authority of a state or of a monarch. Inciting or causing people to rebel against the authority of a state or a monarch. Today in history, July 11th, 1991, former Kitutu East Member of Parliament is pictured here on the Daily Nation. That is former Kitutu East MP George Anyona and 3 others who were jailed for 7 years each for holding a seditious meeting with the intention to overthrow the government. Senior resident magistrate Francis Mabele also sentenced Anyona to 4 years for 2 counts of possessing seditious documents and prohibited publications. Embu Kanu official Augustine Njeru also got 4 years for possessing seditious documents and 18 months for other counts. All the sentences would run concurrently. The others jailed were Professor Edward Akongo Oyugi and Isaiah Ngodho Kariuki. This here is a picture of this quartet in the court that month of July 11th, 1991. That's today in history, a bit of history there on the Saba Saba, which we've been hearing a lot since last week on Friday, when Opposition Chief Raila Odinga, of course, called for those Saba Saba, March for Our Lives demonstrations, which will return tomorrow in a new phase called Mega Maandamano. And that's going to be happening especially in the Nairobi CBD, but also in other parts of the country where Raila Odinga enjoys majority of support, or where Kenyans feel like the high cost of living is a pain to their existence within this nation. Thank you for tuning in to Biashara Tuesday. We take a look at a lot of matters in business and the economy and politics. You might be wondering why you're taking a look at politics, but there's no business without politics. All fiscal deliberations, all financial decisions are made top down, and then bottom up we get to react here as we have done on Biashara Tuesday. Thank you for tuning in. Continue following the rest of KUTV's broadcasting and follow me on social media at Richard_Okenye for hilarious tweets, awesome conversations, and also other issues which are outside of Biashara Tuesday. I'll be back next week again, hopefully, inshallah. But on Monday, we'll have Karen Blessing to do Art and Culture Monday. Watch the show. It's an exciting one. Every morning on Monday, you get an act here, get to enjoy good music and good conversations. And then on Tuesday, we took it to a bit of business and get serious with the economy and see how we can set a successful tone for the rest of your week. I've been your lovely host, Richard Okenye. I'll see you around.